What's up, everyone? William here. Today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my journaling practices. I'll be talking about what I use to journal, why I journal, and some of the techniques that I use. Also, I have some specific questions to answer from my friend Mandy. In general, just am excited to talk about something that makes me happy. And hopefully whoever is also interested in journaling will maybe learn something new from this or think about journaling in a way that they haven't before, perhaps. And maybe you can also share with me if you have other ideas and approaches to journaling. I would love to interact with you in the comments and learn ways to expand my own practice. So how long have I been journaling for and why? I would say seriously journaling, I started towards the beginning of college, so maybe a little over 10 years now. I had tried when I was younger, like middle school age, but I could never get past a few pages. I'd have this great idea for like, here's the way I'm going to approach this journal, here's what I'm going to write about, and then I just would not follow through for more than a few days. So I don't count that. I would say like a good 10 to 12 years that I've been seriously journaling. I get through about 2 or 3 a year, and right now have a pretty full box of journals. This whole thing is journals, and these are all full. These are my full ones, plus these that I'm going to show you later. So that's a lot. That's a lot of writing. One of the first things you'll realize is that they're all very, very different. They've got all kinds of crazy patterns. I hardly ever do the same journal twice. The reason for that is I like to I make a big deal out of choosing a new journal. As I'm close to finishing one, I go out and look for one that really resonates with me. The patterns or the colors or the feel of the page. I really like to try to be in tune with the present moment, which is one of the reasons that I journal in the first place. But the choosing of a journal can be an important part of that process. Some of them are blank page, some of them are lines, some of them are very small lines, some differ like from page to page. And that's all valid. It kind of just depends on the phase of life I'm in. Right now I use blank pages. That works a lot better for my handwriting. I'll get to that a little bit later. So why do I journal? Part of it, I think I really started because I started journaling as a place to collect ideas. I'm a songwriter, and so when I have ideas, they're important because that's possible fuel for the fire later on in my more creative moments. So a journal was just a place for the things that I really knew I needed to not forget. I would also like collect quotes. I started in a very like aware time, like where I was just very observant. I was a sponge. I had the energy to be learning from everything. I was in college, so I was learning in class, but I was also learning from the insane amount of people that I was meeting on a daily basis. From living on campus and stuff. So journal just became a place, a consistent place that I could process everything. So it's like a collection of ideas place. It's definitely evolved a lot since then. It's gone through a lot of different phases, but I'd say the most important thing it does for me now is it grounds me, and it's something that I can treat as just an ear. A journal is who I rant to. I don't really rant with my friends very often because my journal has already heard it. So I've already had kind of a chance to process a lot of things. It's good that before I talk out feelings or ideas with the world, I've already kind of practiced talking it out on a page, which means my ideas come out more refined, I think. The other, to sum up why journaling is important to me and why I think anybody should do it is there's something about seeing your thoughts out in front of you instead of behind your eyes. So taking them from this mysterious place and putting them out there where we can see them with our eyes and add a sensory input to our thoughts is really important. You can interact with your ideas and thoughts and feelings in a more tangible way when they themselves are more tangible. That sums up the reason I think journaling is important. Now, beyond being important, I think that journaling just is fun. I think it's good mental hygiene, and I think that without it, I would not be the person that I am today. I just would not be. It's a very important part of my life. I'm not going to cover every single little like tool that I do or every practice that I do in my journaling, but I'm going to tell you the types of things I do and the types of things that I don't do. Let's talk about what I don't do. I do not schedule out anything in my journal. I don't do math for bills. I don't put my to-do list in my journal. Those things each have their own place. To work out numbers and to tally up my students and keep track of what my students are working on, like that goes in its own notebook. My calendar, I have an actual paper calendar, and that's where I write out my week, month plans. That's its own thing. And I have a to-do list, and that's its own thing. And that's really important. To me, I think being able to clear out those like kind of chores, like things that are a little bit more chore-like, to keep them away from my journal, helps make sure that I look forward to journaling. That it feels like something fun to me. It feels like something I'm doing on my own terms and not on the world's terms. I think that's pretty important. Now, actually getting into the journal, anything goes for me. So it can be drawings, it can be charts, it can be free writes, it can be lists, just not like really to-do lists, but it can be lists of like who do I feel is closest to me right now? Like who are the strongest people on my radar right now, as far as friendships go, as far as my dating life goes, as far as like who do I need to talk to, who do I feel like there's unresolved with. Those kinds of things go in my journal for sure. The other thing is I have a lot of exercises that I do. I do brainstorming exercises. I have methods of just tapping into my unconscious. I have ways of talking to myself. I have all kinds of tools now that I've developed over this last decade of journaling that I would like to share more specifically in other videos. But and anything goes. I like being able to open my journal and just like every page looks a little bit different, and I just feel like the page should be able to cater to wherever my mind is that day. That said, there is room for structure in my journals. Currently, I do date them, but I always try to do something fun with the numbers. So instead of writing 4/27/2020, I'll draw like 4 dots and then a line, like 2 dots, 7 dots, a line. And sometimes I make up my own symbols. Sometimes I do Roman numerals. But being able to spend a little bit of time thinking about like what's meaningful about the numerology of this day, like that's something that's really fun for me. So I do that. I used to not date anything in my journal. It was kind of just a way like for me to feel like I'm different. What I would tell people is like, I don't care when it happened. I just care that it happened. That's a frame of thought that I was in kind of during my college years. So I have a lot of undated journals where it's like, I could not tell you when the specific thing happened. I can just kind of guess. But yeah, now I do structure them by day. I think it's nice to go and see what time of the year I was going through certain things. So I was going to share my current journal and one of my newest practices, because I do think it is relevant in a larger sense, in a macro sense. This is my new one. I drew all these patterns on here. This is my previous one. Very simple, very clean. The pages were blank. There's no lines on the pages. I like that because I have very small handwriting, and so if I have lined pages, it actually makes me write bigger than I'm comfortable with, and I can't fit as much in a page. I don't really love that anymore. Very small handwriting now. This is by Midori. It's a Japanese brand, MD notebook. There you go, if you want to see it. I will actually, I know I said I like to choose new journals, but I will probably just keep doing these for a while. I could see myself doing this for the next couple of years and just like drawing different things on the covers, and dating them. I like the simplicity right now. That's what I currently use. And I wanted to make the point that when I was switching to this latest one, I had this feeling like, oh, this last phase I just went through was especially important to me. Like I think I went through a lot. Let's review that before I start this new journal. So what I did is I spent about 4 or 5 hours one afternoon in this transitional time, and I went through and I wrote every highlight from the previous journal, and I just made a list of all those highlights in my new one. So the first couple pages of my new one are just highlights. So check it out. These pillars. Bam, that's a lot. There's the next page. Those are all the highlights from my previous journal. And taking that time helped me realize, wow, like I digested a lot in this last, I think that was about 6 months that it took to do my previous journal. It was so much. I had some really big revelations, and not only revelations, but questions. So like unresolved things that I wrote down. And it's very important that I went back through because I would not have remembered some of those questions. So that was a way for me to pull the energy from my past and bring it into my present and like keep going on the things that I started. I will never not do that when I change journals. Again, I'm going to always be reflecting on the previous before I really jump into the new journal. I think it's really important. As far as what I write with, this is in response to a question by Mandy. When it comes to my materials, is I only use pen. I do not do pencil. And my favorite pen is the Le Pen, just LE pen. That is the simplest, most precise, least bleedy pen I've ever used, and I will not go back. I actually lost mine, and the store I get them at is closed because of COVID, so I do have to wait a little bit to replace it, but I won't go back as far as having a favorite pen. Hands down, best pen I've ever wrote with. Love it. Before that, I used G2s, the G2 like gel-ish pens. Here's one. I really like those as well, but they're too bleedy, I think. Mandy also asked, which app or notebook do you use? I already answered about the notebooks. It's pretty much always different. But as far as apps go, I have two points to make regarding that. One is I do use my phone to make notes, but it's always with the intention of those then going into the notebook later. I don't like to keep notes in my phone, because anybody that does that will tell you they have hundreds of little notes, and a lot of times what happens is you when it comes time to buy a new phone, who really goes and filters through all those notes? If you do, that's great. It's hard for me to do. So whenever I can, I go in and transfer all my phone notes into my real notebook. The reason I think that's so important is that there's something different psychologically about having an idea in a 3-dimensional place. This notebook exists somewhere in the world. Whether it's on my bookshelf or in my bookcase, it is its own thing, and it is just for journaling. My phone is too many things, and even though, yes, I do always know where it is, there's too many things that occupy that one location in space. So I don't have like a good three-dimensional frame of reference to go think about like journaling. My phone is too many things. You need to have a place to put your ideas that is just for that. Okay, a journal is not just a thing, it is also a place that you go. It's a space that you participate in. So personally, I think it's really important. I don't think I would do well with a phone app for a journal. Let's see what other questions were here. Do you draw or write? I do both. And a lot of times I combine the two. I have writing exercises that are very visual. I do like brainstorms, which end up being like branches. I'll draw a sentence, and then from a word in that sentence, I'll draw another one, and it ends up looking like a tree with branches on my page. Stuff like that. So, and drawing, okay, if I'm doing like a real serious drawing, I won't do that in my journal. I do that in a specified sketch pad or on canvas. You can see all this art behind me. I take art pretty seriously as well, and so like that goes to its own place. Journal drawing is just for doodling for me, just for ideas, like specifically non-art ideas, if that makes sense. Or if I just need to keep my hand busy during like a lecture or even during conversation with people. I usually actually have my journal open when I'm talking to my friends, especially the friends that I have deep talks with. So I can just be writing down things that I might want to remember from that conversation. I am a sponge. My notebook is a sponge, and I am always collecting from the world around me. I do write quotes, but whenever I can, if I can digest it in my own words, I will write down my own words instead. Like, here's what that idea meant to me. When a quote is perfect, I will write down that actual quote, but most of the time, most of what I put in my journal is my thoughts. I want to make it as personal as possible. That's just me. Yeah, I think that answers most of those questions. I did want to make one other point about journaling. I think that besides, I think there's private journaling and there's public open journaling, and I would encourage you to do both with these mindsets. Private journaling, I think that you should act as if no one in the world is ever going to see it. I don't care if that's true or not. I think that you should treat your pages as if you're the only person who will ever have access to them. And if you need to like tell yourself that like in your will you will write to destroy all your journals, do that, or something. Like, you can make yourself feel that secure if you need to. But for me, I know that people might read my journal way in the future, or I've even had people read my journal even though it is supposed to be a private thing for me. It does happen. That said, I do not write with the fear that somebody might one day read it. That's up to fate. I prefer to be completely open and act as if I'm just talking to myself. When I free write, anything goes. I don't care if a thought feels mean. I don't care if a thought feels really dark, really sad. I don't even care if it's untrue. Like, if I have a thought while I'm free writing and I'm like, that is a straight up lie, I would still write it down. It all needs to go there. I need to get what's in my head out onto the page, and then I can interact with it. And then if it feels untrue, or if it feels mean, if it feels unfair, then I can see it in front of me. There's proof that I thought it, and I can start dealing with that part. It's just so valuable to look at the hidden parts of yourself and to bring light to them. That I do think that's really important. So, like, journal fearlessly. Journal fearlessly. On the other side of that, open journaling is something I would absolutely recommend. I do this on Facebook a lot. I will make a list of thoughts that I know everybody is going to see. And the reason I do that is because there is a different mindset when you know people are going to read what you write. There's a different type of care that goes to it. Yes, you filter yourself a little bit, but you can be practicing, like, what am I brave enough to tell other people? Or you can brave, what are other people going to think about me? That is a valuable part of open journaling. You also get a response. You can see immediate feedback of, like, the types of people that are benefiting from what you say, or people that disagree with thoughts that you have. I think that's a great practice as well. Sometimes I do free writes on Facebook, or sometimes I just open up the status or post part of Facebook and I just start writing there. Like, I'll just start journaling and I'll end up with the paragraph, and sometimes I'll share it. Sometimes I won't, but the fact that I was doing it in that space, like in the Facebook space, it brings out different energies from myself, and so then I can decide what to do with it. Post it, or okay, let's actually throw that into my actual journal. I think it's interesting. I don't think that everybody thinks about it. I don't see very much open journaling. I do see people, like, sharing thoughts, but not like presenting it as, hey, this is my open journal. This is what I'm dealing with in my life. These are my thoughts. I know this is personal, but I'm letting you see it if you want to. I think it's valuable. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to say? Oh, yeah, for sure. I encourage every journaler to find ways to make journaling completely their own. Yes, there are methods out there. I feel free personally to, like, steal bits and pieces from different methods that are out there, as they fit my own personality. But in general, I try to make everything my own. And that can be more than just the type of thing you write. It can also be the structure in which you write. So I have one example for you here, one that must have been a really weird time in my life. But this is a journal I made out of cardboard. Like, I think we did some kind of project in college in our dorm. And so I, like, taped some cardboard together with pages in it. But what's interesting about this is I wrote first normally, then I turned it this way to write, and I keep going. And so I don't even know what way to turn it on the camera. But essentially every page turn also turns 45 degrees. And it was a great way for me to, like, just get outside of my own box. Little twists like that, I think, can make you think about your journal differently. And again, it places your thoughts into the three-dimensional world in a way that is distinct, and by literally flipping it upside down, you will actually interact with those thoughts differently when you review them. I think if you open your journal and you see all your thoughts upside down, and you have to do this to read it, there's something about that action that does make you interact with those words just a little bit differently, because you had to go through one extra step to get there. And I can't even tell you tangibly, like, what difference does that make? What difference does that actually make? I just know it does make a difference. Every single little detail does make a difference. That doesn't mean overthink it. It's just something to be aware of, and I think you should play with it. I hope this answered some of the main questions about my journaling practices. One more point is, like, consistency. I don't journal every single day, but I very rarely go more than a week without journaling. So it's most days. I would say on average 5 out of 7 days of the week I am journaling something. Sometimes it's multiple pages, 4 or 5 pages, and sometimes it's half a page. I don't hold myself to any certain kind of standard. I don't want to see it as a chore. I don't want to see it as something I have to do. I just know that it has value to me, and so I look forward to doing it when the opportunity is there. But I don't beat myself up over not journaling. I just give myself that opportunity. I take my journal everywhere with me, so I don't really have to miss any thoughts that feel important. But yeah, I don't think it's that important that you journal every single day. If you do, that's great. But I do think some sort of consistency is important. Don't go too long without journaling. Whatever too long is for you, I would say too long is when you forget that you have a journal. If you forget that you have one, you forget that's an option, or you start having resistances to it where it feels like too much work to get it out, then you've gone too long and you need to you don't need to restart, but like sit down, tell yourself, why is this important? What might I gain from this? And then restart and try to do something semi-regular. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but just know that seeing your thoughts in front of you will make a difference in your life. I think those are the main points I wanted to cover. In the future, I'm going to make posts about like the specific tools that I use, the like psychological tools, the types of brainstorming that I do. I'll share what they look like and what I think that they help with. And really, in a way, it's kind of like building a self-therapy course. It's like, these are all the ways I can interact with myself when I don't have anyone else to talk to or to go to for answers. So I'm really excited to share those things with you. Look forward to them. Please subscribe if you enjoyed hearing me talk about this kind of thing. I get really excited about it. So I like doing this. I would love to make more videos. I probably will, regardless of whether you subscribe or not. But if you do subscribe, I will know that there are eyes on this, and I will probably spend those extra. I will spend that extra effort on the details, getting my lighting better than it is right now, better backdrops, whatever, all the things that go into successful YouTube video making. I think that I should probably stop talking now. Thanks for listening. Happy journaling. Peace.